Guys, it's Karen and I thought I'd do another collection video because you guys enjoyed those two, and this is actually one that's been requested before, and it's my eyeshadow palette collection because, again, as I said in the other video, I do sell a lot of eyeshadow palettes, and so in theory the ones that I have kept are the ones that I really love. However, in practice it doesn't work out that way. I've got three piles. There's two piles there and I've got a pile in my hand, and they are in, there's one pile that I don't particularly like these palettes, but I'm not really sure what else to do with them. Then there's a pile of I like these palettes and I enjoy them, but they're not like my all-time favourite. And then there's a pile of palettes that's my all-time favourite, of which there's only about 6 or 7. And so if I had to choose, they would be the ones I would keep. So I'll talk through these. I don't really know what to do with these palettes first, because it's a bit unusual because they're not bad palettes at all. So the first one is the Visart Sultry Mousse. So you've probably, Sultry Muse, I said that funny. You've seen me use this before. I probably even favorited it at the time because it's got a lot of colours in it that look like they would appeal to me, but actually on use I think I like two. I think I like these two peach ones, and the rest of them not so much. And the problem with this palette is you can only use it with a matte palette because this is all shimmers, and so yeah, you need another palette to go with it. I did think about selling this at one point. I might have even had it up on the blog sales, but they're just, this is what I mean about not sure what to do with these palettes, because in order to sell palettes like this that are quite old, you'd need to sell them at quite a low price. But I also want to appreciate that I spent, you know, money on them at full price. And I feel like they're not bad shadows, so maybe I'll use them one day for something. Maybe, I don't know what. But I think as well, I do sometimes dig out old things and go, oh yeah, I haven't used that, let me use that again. And so that may well happen with this. It has happened once before. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one, let me try that one. So I'm trying to not throw things away or give things away, sell them, whatever, quite as quickly as I have done before. This is a very old palette. Some of you will remember this was a present from my husband, and I couldn't believe this colour. I was like, oh my goodness, look at that colour, it's so gorgeous. And there's a couple of shadows in here that I really, really like. Actually, it's that middle row. I really like that middle row of shadows. I've done a sort of smoky eye with that green colour. Really enjoy this palette, but I just don't pick it up because it isn't, like, I don't think I use any of the colours on the top. You know, I can't remember the exact look that I've done with this before, but there's 1 or 2 looks and then I'm done. And so I love it more for sentimental reasons. And there are a couple of shadows, like I said, that I like there and that I've used, but it's, yeah, it's not one that, it's called Smokescreen, by the way. It's more sentimental value. Oh, these are just single eyeshadows, and I have to say I'm not a fan of single eyeshadows, and these are all mixed. There's some Nabla Cosmetics in here. I think this is a Makeup Geek one, Shimmer Shimmer, and I've got another little square one of, what are these called, the Z palettes, with more Makeup Geek in that I don't particularly use. This is one of their, this is called Fortune Teller. What are these called? Not duochrome, they're the really, really shiny ones. But I have to say that colour doesn't necessarily suit me. When I wear it, I'm like, it's okay, it's just not really my colour. Yeah, I just don't tend to reach for this. I don't know why. That sort of bluey colour, that's a Nabla Cosmetics one. And again, it's nice for that sort of one-off look, but that one I did love. I remember that one is Enchanted, is it? No, Unexpected, that's the Makeup Geek one. I did use that a lot. Again, they're not bad eyeshadows at all. I just don't reach for this palette for some reason. This is the Too Faced Natural Eye. This is one of my older eyeshadow palettes, although this is a smaller one. I could have put this in with my small eyeshadow palette collection. I used to just love this colour for nights out. I used to use that one. A real shimmery colour that I don't think is in the new version. Absolutely stunning colour. And I loved wearing that on nights out. And then this was me just sort of experimenting with eyeshadows, and I used to wear this Silk Teddy here every day to work. I'd just wear that over my eyes and a little bit of the kind of brownie colours in the corner. And again, I'm not sure really what to do with this palette. I do occasionally pull it out and use a colour from it, but it's not a favourite. These next two were gifts, which is why I don't give them away. This one is the Illamasqua Rose Gold palette, although to me it's not that rose goldy, but this is it. And it's nice. I haven't actually played around with this as much as perhaps I should, but I guess because there's only really 2 lid colours there to me, which is maybe that one there and that goldy one there. There's no other lid colour because I tend not to use a matte colour on my lids. And you'll see as I go on, I've got a lot of palettes that have got a lot of mattes in them, but I rarely just wear a matte colour on my eyes. I'll always wear a shimmery colour on my eyelids. And I think that colour was beautiful when I used it, and that one was just so-so. So to bring a palette out, you know, just to use one colour is probably why I don't pick it up. But I love the palette. A lot of people complained about it at the time, but I really love the fact that it's a thin, sleek cardboard one. And then the final one, you guys will be surprised that this is in my don't love pile, but this is the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Contour Palette. It is beautiful, and the eyeshadows are a beautiful texture. They're really soft and creamy, and I love that about them. I love how they work, but I think it's just because this is matte, and there are other matte palettes that I use as accompanying palettes that I like a bit more than this. And I think because there's not too many light colours in here. If you have a look, they're all quite dark. Well, I suppose they're not dark. I wouldn't tend to use a peachy one, so that one I wouldn't use. I'd maybe use that. And in the warm colours, these are a little bit too dark. I wish they were a little bit lighter. And I know that most people would love this palette, but for me, I just barely ever use it. But it's one, like I said, I keep this one because it was a gift. But also, I think I'd keep this anyway because it's such a nice palette and good eyeshadows that I could take it and use it around any other look that I was maybe using a pigment with. Next is I like these, but they're not my ultimate favourites. The first is the Naked 3 palette by Urban Decay. I do really like the colour Liar from this. I like the colour Trick, and I think there was one other, maybe Factory. But it's one of those palettes that I love 3 colours and the rest are just okay, so that's why I tend not to pull that too much. This will be the same story as time and time again. This is the Tartlet palette, and I do love it insofar as it's all matte. No, insofar as the shadows themselves, they're lovely shadows, but the only reason it's not on my love list is because they're all mattes. Now I have done a couple of looks with this. This one I did think, oh, this has convinced me and turned me over to mattes, if you like. When I first bought it, I used it for a couple of weeks in a row, and I did do quite a few matte looks and enjoyed them, but it quickly faded and I went back to my beloved shiny shadows. But as an accompanying palette, I do love it, but just as a standalone palette, not so much. But again, fantastic shadows, nothing to do with the quality of the shadows. Same with this. This is the Visart Mattes. Great as an accompanying palette, but as I'm not into mattes, it wouldn't be a standalone palette for me. And a lot of these you may think, well, why did you buy them? I think I was caught up for, you know, a couple of years on YouTube in buying all the new palettes and trying lots of different things. So I don't, from that point of view, regret it at all. And again, they're really good shadows, but I don't necessarily think this is worth the extra money for this neutral mattes palette. I do love Visart shadows, as you know, and I've got some of the small little ones that I'll talk about in the small eyeshadow palette collection, but for these I think you can get this from, say, that Tartlet palette or maybe another one I'm talking about here. But it is nice, it's good. This next one, this is interesting because I was going to do a full review of this, but it quickly disappeared from their website, and I don't know whether it's back now or not. It's the Nabla Cosmetics, and I didn't even realise that it was limited edition. Otherwise, to be honest, I wouldn't have bought it. I wanted to do a review on this because it looked beautiful, it looked like a beautiful palette, and it looks stunning, but they're cruelty free, and I thought it would be a great option, but I don't know whether it's back on their website or not. However, they look stunning, don't they look stunning? And actually it was one of the very few palettes that I looked at and I thought there isn't a colour there that I don't like or wouldn't use. This is probably the closest to I would struggle to know what to do with it, but even that I would maybe put that in the corner of my eye on top of a brown just to give it a little bit of colour. And I thought I would love every single shadow, and this Vanitas in particular, I mean, it looks stunning. But I have to say, on the eyes, looks stunning in that swatch there as well, and I'm sure it looks nice enough on the eyes. But I did a few looks that week, oops, the week I got it, and I didn't love it. They didn't look amazing on the eyes, and I haven't used it since. And like I said, I'm not really sure what to do with that one. It's just, yeah, it was £30 I think, so I don't know. I'm going to keep it, and maybe I'll use it one day. Maybe they'll bring it back, or maybe it's already on the website. It's not going to be a short video, is it? This one is the Too Faced Stardust by Vegas Nay, and I adored this palette when it came out. And I think I stopped using it simply because it was limited edition and nobody could get it. But that aside, I do think this is a really good palette, and I do love pretty much all of the colours in here. I don't know why I don't pull it out very much. I also love the packaging on that. So maybe that one should be in the love, but I wouldn't, it's not one I would say, it wouldn't be in my top 5 to grab in a fire or whatever these videos are. This is just all my MAC, not all of my MAC, this is a lot of my MAC shadows. I have got about another, I've got at least another 4 little quartets. I've got lots of single eyeshadows in their own containers. I've got a lot of MAC eyeshadows, but this is just a sort of palette I put together. And you can see I've got all the little names there. And this at one point was my most used palette. You know, there's colours in here that I used on my makeup, on my wedding day, etc. I just don't love it anymore because I think I don't love MAC shadows anymore. I think there are some that are great, but there are so many other shadows like Lorac, etc., where I love the formula of the shadows so much more than I do MAC shadows, but I do love all of those colours. But you can see a lot of them have got hard pan on them, and that is kind of annoying. The final one on the like but don't love is this. It's the Modern Renaissance palette, and I'm sure I've said before that I love it, so, you know, yes, I'm probably being a bit changey-mindy. This is another of those that I love as an accompanying palette. I think it's beautiful, and you've got a lot of choice of colours. There's a nice light taupe there. There's a nice mauvey colour there. There's a lot of colours that you can use in your crease. There's a nice dark one for the outer corner. There's one there that you can see I've well used for the brow bone. But there's 2 shimmery colours, and I used them on my eyes and didn't love them. So I don't reach for it very often because I've got so many accompanying palettes. In my makeup bag at the moment is the Naked Basics, for example, and it's perfect. It's got a dark colour for the outer corner, it's got a brow bone colour, it's what I've got on today, it's got a crease colour, it's got everything I need. And so I've just got so much choice with matte accompanying palettes that I just don't pull it very often. Last but not least, you will have seen a couple of these in my Best Eye Makeup of 2017. This is the MAC Warm Neutrals palette, so it's a pre-formed palette that you buy from them, and I love pretty much every shadow in here. I think there's one maybe that isn't a favourite, but every time I use this palette I love the look. I still don't love the shadows. They're still not the best shadows in the world in terms of application. Sometimes you have to work hard to get them, but I do love this palette. Oh, the Urban Decay Naked Heat. I love this because of the colours. These are just so my colours, and I can use this palette, you know, for a week and not need anything else because it has got the crease colours, it has got the brow bone colour. Well, it has got the brow bone colour if you want to use a shiny one, I suppose, and it has got a colour for the outer corner, and it's just, to me, the perfect combination of colours. So I do love the Naked Heat palette. I haven't used that for a while, actually. This is one that I love, and it's the Urban Decay Electric palette, and I suppose this should be in the like but don't love, but the colours that I love this one here. You'll have seen me wear a few times. What's it called? Freak, I think. Yeah, it's called Freak, and then next to it is Urban, that purple, and I also love that pink. So that's only 3 colours out of the whole palette, I know, but like, I love them. That is my favourite colour. If I could buy that in a single colour, I would. If I could buy that in a single colour, I would. Actually, I've never checked to see if you can get that purple in a single colour, but they're so bright and they look so beautiful on these colours. I think it's really cool. And actually, I've seen makeup looks with the other colours in the palette that I think look lovely and I just wouldn't put on myself. So I do really like this palette. I don't think I'd ever use those blues. I wouldn't use that sort of chartreusey type colour. I have used that, I think. That's a nice colour as well. Too Faced Natural Matte. Now, This is not in the I like but don't love, because I do love it. I love all the tones in this. They're like, that peach one is bright enough that I can use that on my eyes and create a full look, and I really, really enjoy it. It's got a beautiful cream colour for the brow, and there's lots of different shades of crease colours that you can use, and they come off light enough, and they're so creamy and don't need much blending, that as an accompanying palette and occasionally as a smoky eye palette, I really like this. And this would be the one matte palette I would probably choose, this natural matte, Too Faced Natural Matte. This is the Vegas Lights palette by Makeup Geek. I don't know if she still does this palette, but again, I love it. Really love it. Don't use it that much, but I do love it. I love Desert Sands as a crease colour. This Mirage is, to me, the best cream eyeshadow, cream in colour eyeshadow ever. It's just soft and creamy. There's so much pigment in it. It's just so beautiful. It's a lovely colour. Sin City, I love. This one is Roulette, I think, and I love that. Love Bada Bing. I think you can get most of these now in single colours. I don't love the Casino, but I do like it. So this is a palette that I love. I just love the formula of these. I love all the looks that come out with using these together. Really, really enjoy it. And it's a nice little compact palette, but still having 6 shadows in it. Love that. And my final 3 are all Lorac, and I feel so lucky to have these because we can no longer get these in the UK. And I think if you wanted to buy them, you'd have to go to eBay and risk that they were, whether or not they were genuine. I bought all 3 of these, I believe, from Rose's Beauty Store that no longer exists. So I've got the Lorac Pro, which is the original. Just love it. I just love it. I suppose my only complaint would be that the eyeshadows are quite small, because you can see that this one is nearly gone, this cream colour. That one's on its way out. And I think you'd run out of, you know, brow colours before anything else. I don't know, maybe they should have made not a cream and a white, but just a big cream, if you see what I mean. I don't know, but anyway, I do love this palette. I bought the Lorac Pro 2 as well, and honestly, I would find it hard to decide between them, and you can see I've used the cream colour in that as much, and there's probably a few there, that light brown and the beige colour, that are about to hit pan. I love how thin these are, so I suppose that's because they're small, but I love how thin they are. They're just, these would be so easy to travel with, and you've got a choice of any look in there. Especially the Lorac 2, you've got that bit of purple in there. Love them, absolutely love them. And this Lorac Unzipped is just, again, it's just my perfect palette in terms of colours. And it's another one, this one and the MAC Warm Neutrals, where whenever I use this palette, I'm never disappointed. I always love the look. And I mean, they're quite similar, but if you like rose goldy colours, then you'll love this. But like I said, it's really difficult for us to get in the UK, sadly, and I don't know where we'd get it now. There was a Lorac, I think it's called Desert something, that I was considering buying, but I couldn't find where to get it from. Emily Noel had mentioned it as a great palette, but like I said, we can't buy it anymore. But these are my favourite palettes, so I do treasure these palettes because I know how difficult it is to get them. Okay, that's everything for my favourite eyeshadow palette. I don't know whether I'll call them large eyeshadow palettes, but I will do another one with smaller eyeshadow palettes and maybe show you some singles or something in that. I don't know, I haven't figured that out yet. I'll give you a rundown of my makeup. I have got on the Bare Minerals Bare Pro in 09. I have got on my eyes the Makeup Geek pigment in Prism. Prism it's called. It's a really, really light peach. It's beautiful. And then, like I said, I use the Naked Basics palette with it. On my cheeks, I've got the MAC blush in Melba. Do you remember I said I was going to try and use that and see what I thought? And I do like it. I used it with the Charlotte Tilbury bronze. On my lips, I've got a bit of a mishmash. I actually put on a MAC liquid lipstick in, I think it was called Sweet Thing. And I think that was the last thing I bought from MAC. And it's not something I wear very often. It's a bit too dark. And so on top of that, I put a Soap and Glory metallic type lipstick. And then on top of that, I've put the Kiko lip gloss. So there's too much going on my lips, I think. That's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you again soon.